Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak in Valley Cottage, New York. I'm joined by Ralph Sharega up in, Boston, Massachusetts, and Ray Clifford in Marysville, Ohio. And I want to welcome everyone back after like a 3-week hiatus. There's a lot, well, I want to say a lot of things. There's really only one basic thing happening in the news. But first off, how you doing, Ralph?
I'm doing well. I mean, not only the Rodgers thing, but they are redoing a lot of contracts, and some other guys are coming back, like the left tackle. What's his name? Brown.
Wayne
Dwayne Brown.
Brown.
Dwayne Brown. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting move. So there's a few things to talk about.
Yeah, Ray, how are you doing?
Good. Just getting a little more winter weather here in Ohio, but it is only March, so I guess that's expected. But just waiting for this Rodgers thing to just be over and done with, whatever the decision.
Well, I saw him on Brandon Marshall was
Yes.
interviewing him. He said it'll be very soon, and I think he understands it's got to be, or else everyone's going to move on.
Right. Before we get into it, very quickly, a trivia question.
Ooh,
What player drafted by the Jets, listen to the question, has gotten the biggest free agent contract? A draftee of the Jets. We can come back to that.
so obviously it's somewhat fairly recent since we're talking money.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that. Okay, let's get into it. A couple of things before we get into A-Rod, as they're calling him. First of all, they let go of Braxton Berrios. I want to get both your reaction, but before that, they traded for Chuck Clark from Baltimore for a 7th-round pick in 24. Obviously, Baltimore was going to cut them, and that the Jets made that offer. Chuck Clark was a 6th-round pick. He's 6 foot, 209 pounds. And very important to me, Ray, is the last 3 years he started 49 out of 49 games, which I like. He's really not a ball hawk at all. He seems to be fairly cerebral. He's not that fast. Interestingly, and Ralph, you're going to love this. I was looking up some stats. Last year, according to Pro Football Reference, he had 61 solo tackles, but according to PFF, he had 70 solo tackles. So that just shows you how the stats go. So, by the way, just came over on the wire. I guess not Jet news, but affecting the Jets, that cornerback Jalen Ramsey was traded to the Dolphins for tight end Hunter Long and a 3rd-round draft pick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Outstanding move.
Yeah, I imagine he's just got a huge contract that they wanted to get rid of, but yeah, that helps them.
It helps them, and I guess they're trying to retool any draft picks they could get, which might affect the Jets because there was a rumor going around. I'll get to that. But the Jets created $15.2 million in salary cap, reworking Laken Tomlinson, DJ Reed, Tyler Conklin. And before that, they restructured CJ Uzama. So maybe there's some truth to that, Ray, when Robert Saleh says he wants to get everyone back. Obviously, Barrios isn't back. But, Ray, what's your reaction to cutting of Braxton Berrios?
Well, first of all, Braxton Berrios wouldn't agree to a restructure, so that's why he isn't back. But
Great point.
I don't have a problem with it. He wasn't nearly as good last year as the year before, but as long as we have somebody who can catch the punt, I'm okay.
That was been a big gift for us.
That's why I liked him, was he actually caught the punt. But so I don't think it's a big loss receiver wise. I wanted more to have more of a role. So I think that is part of it for me too, is that I want Elijah Moore to get more time, and I think that's a good move.
Yeah, Ralph, you had said that and you were probably right, that I took it too much for granted how good he was at catching punts. But what's your reaction
Well, I thought he had the year before was very good, and I don't think he played up to his contract last year. You know, he did some really wacky things. It was so unlike him because usually he's a very sharp player, but he did some silly things, and I don't know what the hell is going on with him. And I think considering the situation the Jets are in now, which they're going to need money if they do land Rodgers, that I think it's the right move, actually.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now let's get into the news of the day, which has been the news of the day every day. I'm getting tired of it. I don't know if you guys are. It's just exhausting.
Well, can you remember how long the Brett Favre thing was dragged on for? It seemed like forever, probably not that long.
I think it was a couple of weeks, but for some reason, this seems like it's going on longer. And just so you know, Ray and Ralph, I'm sorry, I tweeted to you both. I think I mentioned to Ray that Tampa Bay looks like they're going to make a push for.
Yeah, that's been in the cards for a while, I've heard, and that's a shame because that would be one less option for the Jets. And we, you know, the more that happens, the more Jimmy G starts, hanging over my head, which I don't want him, but
yeah. Ralph, why don't you ask Ray what you asked me? Gun to his head.
Ray, gun to your head, yes or no? In a month from now, is Aaron Rodgers going to be a Jet?
You know what? I don't think so. I think he's going to go back to Green Bay.
Wow.
That makes more sense to him and to the team, even though the Packers would love to get rid of him. He's going to cost them a ton if he, trade or not. If he leaves, he costs them a ton. So I think I just don't feel strongly that they're going to end up getting this done, which scares me from the standpoint of who's left after he doesn't.
Well, that's true. And it's funny. That's after the general manager of Green Bay said that he doesn't see any scenario where Aaron Rodgers will be coming back to be a Packer next year. Now, if he decides not to sign with the Jets and not to retire, Ray, I mean, it's going to cost Green Bay how much? Like 50-something million? I
think it cost him 40-something against the cap, I think.
And if they cut him, it's worse?
Oh, yeah, because that was all guaranteed money, pretty much. I think it costs him more next year than it does this year.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't remember. There's a lot to that contract, and it's just something that, man, I just want to know what we're giving up if we do it. That's really what my bottom line is. What is it? Not just money, but what does it cost us? What draft picks, players, if any? Tell me what's
Well, the more I'm reading, the more I'm hearing. Not even a first, a second, and maybe a conditional first if we get a couple of years out of him, which I could live with.
Or if we hit the Super Bowl.
But the Jets, because Woody didn't want Derek Carr, which we can talk about in a little while. I think it was a mistake, but
let's talk about it right now.
Well, let me just finish this. I felt the Jets' leverage was really, really compromised, but Green Bay doesn't have a lot of leverage either. I don't know how many other teams are interested in Rodgers. Like you said, Ray, I don't think they want him back.
No, they don't.
And I think personally he either retires or he's going to be a Jet. I never thought the Jets were going to get Favre until Marty sends me this text, we got him. and I think it might happen with him too. I also am hearing that maybe we get their left tackle. What's his name? David Bakhtari, something like that. Who's a very good football player, 30 years old, which I would be happy with because that would really take care of an issue. So, the more we can pile in Aaron Rodgers' buddies, the more chance I think we have. So, Marty, I know you didn't answer it. You answered it off Mike before, but I'm a yes. Ray's a no. And what are you, Marty?
I say no. And you know what? Something in me says the judge should just come out and say, we've decided to go in another direction. And nobody knows what the direction is, but I'm just so tired of this. I'm just so tired of the way he's dictating everything.
It's tiring, but if it happens, then all that stuff, it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, I'll be cheering for him. Look, week after Labor Day, I'll be the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan, no doubt about it. But let's just say for a second, before we get into Derek Carr, if there is a white knight, I want us each to pick one team where you think he might fit in. Let's say somebody comes up, and I agree with you, Ralph. I think it's either the Jets or he retires. But let's just say all of a sudden somebody pops up, one team. I'll start who I think it's a fit, and I think it would be the Miami Dolphins. I think he would. I don't believe that no matter what the Dolphins say, I don't believe that they're 100% confidence going with Tua with his concussion situation. So if I was Aaron Rodgers and I would consider another team, I would consider Miami Dolphins.
Has Tua gotten a new contract yet?
No, but they did the 5th-year option.
They did the 5th-year option.
Boy, wow.
Yeah. And also it would give him, if he is going to continue to play, it gives him another year too. And I know that's a lot of money tied up in the quarterback position.
Yeah.
I think that's a great fit. I really do.
Well, I'm sure Rodgers would like it with those receivers. Although I frankly think that Devonta Smith's better than Jalen Waddle, and Waddle was picked before him, but whatever.
By the way, did you hear about Tyreek Hill yesterday?
No, what happened?
He was in the World Track and Field Games, and he won. I think it was a 60-yard dash.
Really? Who's the competition in that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Joe Frazier?
Bruce Jenner, I guess.
Remember Joe Frazier in that competition when he tried to swim and he sank?
Remember that, yeah. But Ralph, do you have any other team you could think of?
I hadn't really thought about it. Washington jumps into my head because Daniel Snyder's crazy and they need a quarterback, but I don't know if Aaron Rodgers would want to go there. I don't know. Give me a minute on that.
Ray, what about you off the top of your head? Do you think of any other team?
Raiders, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was just gonna say Vegas. Yeah.
Vegas. Yeah. You see, I think Garoppolo is going to end up in Vegas, and if for some reason, if Aaron Rodgers retires, Jimmy Garoppolo should kiss his feet because he's going to make so much more money.
Yeah.
Between the Jets and the Raiders. So I think he's going to end up on the Raiders, Jimmy G. All right, let's get into Derek Carr. All right, the report was the Jets coaching staff and general manager, they were leaning towards signing Derek Carr, and that whether it's true or not, I think it is true that Woody Johnson got involved, and he said no, I want to wait for Aaron Rodgers. Then, like within 24 hours after that, he signs with the Saints. Even Rich Cimini had reported that it looks like he might be leaning to the Jets too. So, Ralph, what's your reaction now?
I totally believe that, and I think they could have had him. He didn't sign a monstrous contract. Jets could have topped that, and the Jets offer, I think, as much as New Orleans, if not more, at this point. And I think they blew it. And Woody Johnson, he's a star chaser. He always has been. But I guess the one problem is he goes to Joe Douglas. And Joe Douglas doesn't like it. And he said, Joe, you had your shot. You picked our guy Wilson, and it didn't work out. So I'm going to make the call this time. It sucks. And I'm sure it's really frustrating to Douglas and those guys. But, yeah, I hate to say it, but I believe that.
Yeah. Ray, what's your thoughts on it?
It sounds plausible, definitely, that it happened that way, because it just seemed like they were coming to an agreement with him that I really expected to hear that Carr. I really thought by the end that right before he went to the Saints that he was going to come to the Jets, and then when he didn't, and went to the Saints, I don't think the Saints have nearly the team the Jets have as far as other pieces. Then all we would have had to worry about is taking care of the offensive line, but we wouldn't be giving up picks, and we wouldn't be, spending as much money. And I fear that, but I guess we'll find out when Joe Douglas's tell-all book comes out. The mess
Right.
that is the Jets.
That'll be the first for him because he doesn't tell anything.
No, but I'm frustrated by it because I really, for long term, I just think Carr was a better option. You know, I think
Yeah.
that we're just going all in, and we got to fill some holes if we're going to get.
Right. Ralph, your audio is not great. I don't know if you want to pull the plug out and plug it in. We're still recording.
Yeah, it's a little loud and
It's a little loud. It's going in and out. So I
It's
don't
a
know.
little loud.
I don't
it's a
know.
little loud and it kind of
Let me
isn't
pause
clear.
this.
It's
Hold.
kind
Okay, we're back. A little technical difficulties. So, yeah. No, I like David Carr too, though. You know, I'd said the last 2 years, I know he threw 14 interceptions each year. But Ralph, what is it with that coach of the Raiders? I mean, what is it with this guy? He just, I mean, it's like he doesn't seem to get along with any quarterback.
Well, like you said before, Marty, he's spoiled by Tom Brady, and they got this complex system in New England, and nobody else can really do it. And also part of it is that like most of the assistant coaches with the Patriots, they really were dragged along on Belichick's coattails.
Yeah.
I mean, very few of them have ever proven on their own that they're really high quality coaches.
Right. I want to get into a plan B, but before we do, I want Ray's thoughts on Jimmy G, because Ralph is not that big on him. I get the feeling Ray isn't. I'm bigger on him than both of you guys. One of the attributes I love about Jimmy G is that he gets rid of the ball really quick, which I think it would be great for the Jets. But Ray, what's your feelings about him with his injury history and everything else?
Well, I mean, that's just it. I'm not down on him per se, because I do like a lot of what he does, and he's. I don't know if he's going to fit this system, because I don't know if Hackett's going to change the system, but he fit the one we were running. But it's his injury history that has me worried about him. I don't want a guy who's not around when if we make the playoffs. Like everybody talks about Lamar Jackson, but he didn't play in the playoffs this year. So I don't want to be spending a bunch of money on some guy with an injury history and missing playoffs. So that's my main concern with Garoppolo. I like him otherwise. I think we don't need some guy with a monster arm. He doesn't have to be the most mobile guy. He just has to be somebody who can move around, and he has to be smart. And I think he is in that sense. But the injury history scares me a lot, because he's pretty much, other than I think his first year in Frisco, I think he's pretty much been injured every year since, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And Ralph, let's see, what do you think is the Jets' best option if Aaron Rodgers falls through? And then a report came out, Mike Florio printed, said that the Jets might be interested in Matthew Stafford trading for him. And there goes Ray's head shaking, I know. But Ralph, I think that Ray and we have a fear, and I think you do too, that if this falls through, he's going to go all out for Lamar Jackson. I don't want any part of him, especially for number one. So give me your idea and give me your reaction to that Matthew Stafford rumor.
Wow, Matthew Stafford. I don't know what they want for him. I have a feeling not as much as they had to give up. If they could get him for like a second and maybe a third the next year, I think I'd do it. I mean, they don't have a whole lot else there. Gardner Minshew, we kind of like him, but I don't know if he's any good. If he could do it over the course of a season with a team like the Jets, maybe he can. Yeah, I'd do it if it wasn't too expensive.
Yeah, I think a second is pretty rich. I don't even think they would get that. I think the Jets would get away with something less. Ray, what's your reaction with the head shaking and everything?
I think Stafford's pretty well worn out. It sounds like his rehab isn't going according to plan. So, I mean, I don't dislike him, but I think he's more of a question mark about health than Garoppolo is even. If I had, if I could do anything, I'd tell Joe Douglas, hey, get a hold of Mayfield's agent and just put a bug in his ear to hold out till we hear what Rodgers is doing, and maybe we'll make a better offer.
Good thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Ralph, I also had a thought with our free agent, Mike White, and that he claims he's 100% better Joe Douglas is going to revamp the offensive line. Is it the worst thing in the world if we go into the season saying, all right, we want Mike White to start as quarterback? Now, just hear my thoughts also. The weakest stat for Mike White was his red zone stats, and I attribute a lot of that to Mike LaFleur and Barrios dropping that pass, of course. And Nathaniel Hackett's best attribute is his red zone stats. So what's your thoughts about possibly signing Mike White and telling him you're going to be our starter? We're going to build a team around you.
That would be an unbelievable change of turn of events, considering, he's been like carrying water for Zach Wilson for a couple of years. I don't know. I mean, Mike White or Gardner Minshew, who would you take of those two?
I think I would take Mike White. Who would you take?
I think I'd take Minshew because he's fairly mobile. Mike White is not. I don't mind Mike White, but I think that would be awkward. I think it would be awkward because I don't really think any of us would say, well, Mike White's the guy.
Right.
And Zach Wilson's not. I think we kind of look at it more like a competition. And I don't think we want that right now. I think we want Zach Wilson to sit for a year or two. That would be one of the really best things about getting Aaron Rodgers. For some reason, they have a good relationship. I don't think Aaron Rodgers would have the Tom Brady rule of 2 questions. I think he might be able to help him move along. Maybe it will never happen. But I think that we'd have a shot at it.
Zach Wilson has taken his last snap as a New York Jet in the red zone. I'm telling you.
You don't think he's going to be on the team next year?
I'm not saying
He didn't think he was
that.
going to be on the team this year.
Well, if he's on the team, then he'll probably have a snap.
No, but if he's going to be on the team, he won't see the field, and I think after this year he'll be gone. If he's not gone this year,
Well,
I don't know what the cap implications are. I just don't see it. I think with his teammates, he's like one of the most unpopular players in that locker room. That's what I see. That's the feeling I get. I really do. I just don't see it working out for him.
I know, but if he's the backup, he's going to play because quarterbacks get injured all the time.
He's going to be, if he's on the team this year, he'll be the third quarterback. He's not going to be the backup. They'll get somebody else. I don't care if it's Sam Darnold. I don't care who's the guy that was on the Eagles that was just cut by the Commanders.
Wentz?
Yeah, I don't care if it's called. It's not going to. Zach Wilson will not be our backup quarterback in 2023. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen. Not with the team that they have right now. It won't happen. So, give me another idea. Any other ideas for Plan B, Ray?
Well, Garoppolo, Mayfield, like you said, tell him to hold off. There's not a whole lot. Jacoby Brissett. I mean, God, Mariota. These guys are all nothing. What about Tannehill? Is he still floating around out there?
But he's not a free agent, but he might get cut. But his name's been floating around because they're what do you call it? The guy that they got, the coach from
the offensive line coach, whatever his name was, or the passing game
coordinator.
Yeah,
Said Downing.
Yeah,
he has a relationship with him. But
I think he's a possibility.
Yeah, but when I hear these relationships, sometimes they never work out. He had a relationship with Derek Carr.
I agree. But I think he's definitely a possibility.
Ray, okay, go ahead. You start saying about Baker Mayfield. Any other ideas?
I guess I'd be okay with Minshew. I don't think he's started at least before. I'd say Minshew over Mike White because at least Minshew's been a starter, like
for a couple of seasons.
Yeah, not just a guy who took over because our other starter was so horrid that we had to do something.
Who's that?
Yeah, the other guy. I don't know if Zach will be around or not. They aren't going to pick up his 5th-year option, so who knows what'll happen after this year. But I agree that they've got to pick up somebody else, or he is the backup. I like the thought of Minshew. I never heard the talk of of getting Bakhtiari with Rodgers. If that's the case, I'd be way more on board with Rodgers than I am.
Yeah. No, when I heard that, that excited me because that fills a huge hole, and
Yeah, that's a game changer for me.
yeah. I mean,
Right.
I don't know what the cost would be, but you know, I mean, it would save them from having to draft the left tackle in the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a guy, I don't know, you never hear his name. The last 2 years, he started 24 games. He threw for over 5,000 yards, threw 32 TDs, 21 interceptions. When I saw him, he looked pretty competent, but apparently he didn't do well at his last few games he started, though. This guy from the Commanders, Tyler Heineke.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
But you didn't say it, but go ahead, Ralph. What's your
I mean, I know you've been a fan of his somewhat
I have been,
for a
yeah.
while, yeah. I mean, I think you just lump him with, you know, the Mike Whites and the Minshews, and you know, you take your shot at one of them. I don't think, to me, he doesn't stand out any more or less than any of those guys. You know, he seems like a journeyman who might be good or might not be good.
Yeah. He's a gamer, I guess, is what, you know, they all say about him, and it's true. I mean, he really competes well, and he has moments when he looks great, but he's limited, and so it would be somebody who, if they brought him in as a backup, I'd be okay. As a full-time starter, I don't think he's I don't think he's the best option for us that, you know, we could do.
Yeah.
I really think, and as much as I don't think they do it, I really do think they should just put a bug in Mayfield's agent's ear, or somebody who they think they might want to go after and say, hey, why don't you hold off on any deals till Rodgers makes up his mind what he's doing.
Yeah, Ray, stay warm on that mic. I'm going to ask you first, and I want Ralph's reaction to the Carolina Panther trade moving up. But before that, a report just came over through Rich Cimini that the Jets are very interested in re-signing Quincy Williams. They're working on it now as we speak.
I'm very happy about that.
I know you both are very happy. You both are president and co-presidents of the Quincy Williams fan club. And I'll be honest with you, it's a good move for a number of reasons. I think it also helps signing his brother, though I don't think he'd give really a discount, but you never know. Ray, this week we saw, as usual, teams, they love to trade up. They give up a ton. We saw it happen a number of years ago with the Eagles. And this year we saw Carolina Panthers. They traded it up with the Bears for the number one pick of the draft. They gave up a number one and number two this year, a number one and number two in 24. And the receiver, who is it, DJ Brown?
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore, yeah.
DJ Moore, who's a very good receiver. What's your reaction, Ray?
I thought throwing in Moore was too much to me. I mean, to go down to 9th and give up all those picks, I mean, they must believe they're a complete enough team, but I think they gave up a lot to get up there. But I mean, if you're set on one of these quarterbacks, you know, but to me, you know, I don't think they were just a quarterback away from being there, but I really think you just took away a weapon from that quarterback. So I don't know who maybe they'll draft one or sign a different free agent, but I thought they gave up a little more than I would have thought for
right.
9th.
Ralph, what did you think? And Ralph, I want your opinion that could they have gotten more if they waited till get closer to draft day?
Possibly. From the Carolina standpoint, I wouldn't have done it. They got the 9th pick. They must have one of these guys targeted. I mean, I look at them, and I don't know if, you know, there's no Trevor Lawrence or Andrew Luck in this class. You know, Bryce Young might be the best. Stroud might be the best. Levis or Levis might be the best. Anthony Richardson. They're at the 9th. They could have gotten one of those guys. And for me, obviously, they're really down on one of these guys. I don't see it in this draft. I think they gave up too much.
I do too. Gun to your head, Ralph. Right now, who do you think they're going to take?
I think they're gonna take Bryce Young because
Right? Yeah. Ray?
Um, I initially thought Young, and then I hear more that they seem to like Stroud. Stroud to me is more of a pocket guy. He might be more of the type that Frank Reich is used to coaching.
he's a little bigger too.
Yeah.
But man, that Ohio State history of never really having a big time quarterback in the pros.
What about Rex Kern? He was good, but he was
Yeah, as a defensive back, right?
Bobby Hoying. Bobby
Yeah.
Hoying.
Yeah.
Right.
Kirk
Okay.
Herbstreit. Well,
Who's the
Kirk,
guy?
he made it big, but not in football, though.
And now I can't think of his name. He punted for us and actually came in.
Oh, yeah, Tupa.
And Vinny, yeah, Tupa.
All these
And
guys.
came in and looked good for half a game against New England.
We're gonna wrap it up. If in case you want to add anything else, I was hoping we'd get a flash right on the air. I keep renewing all these sites, but definitely.
So was tomorrow at noon the unofficial free agency begins?
Tampering period begins. Yeah.
And then on Wednesday it's legit. And Rodgers said it'll be a couple of days, so we'll see.
I think it'll be tomorrow by noon. I think.
Yeah, the thing about Rodgers that worries me is I worry. He can only take 2 days in the dark room. As Jet fans, we've had 50 years of darkness.
The one thing on talk radio, there's been a comparison about him and Kyrie Irving, but this I have to give Rodgers credit for. He plays games. He's a gamer about coming to play, so that is good news.
Well, last year he played most of the year with a broken thumb, and he almost got them back into the playoffs. So yeah, I don't question his toughness at all.
No, he
plays. If he comes, he'll play. Yeah,
I just hope he comes and he's all in. Meaning, I don't want him to just show up at the beginning of training camp. I want him to be in the OTAs and all that stuff too. And I think he. At first I said he won't, but I actually think he'll do it if he's coming here. I think he'll be all in, and I think that's part of what I want to see.
But guys, what is taking this guy so long?
He's a diva.
No, I mean, it's like the procrastination.
Well, he's waiting to see if he still gets the gig on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. All right,
anything else? Shave if he wants that, because holy cow,
oh my God,
scruffy beard thing has
look, we can forgive him if it ends up being a package deal with that offensive tackle and the
I'd love that.
The wide receiver. And talking about the wide receiver, I will tell you that in that game that the Jets beat them, he made one of the nicest passes to him down the sideline. Yep. He was covered, laid it right in his arms. It was a phenomenal pass. Okay,
I think he'd help Elijah Moore out of the slot because Randall Cobb had a lot of production with him, and I forget who else was their slot guy.
Well, but don't be surprised if they get Randall Cobb and they cut Elijah Moore, trade him for a third-round pick.
I think Cobb's a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
One last thing, and I just want to touch upon it before we get back to the trivia question. I think that the Jets, and I had gone over this, I think, with Ray the last show. Raph, I want your opinion. Bryce Huff, they're going to tender him, I think, for a second-round pick.
Ooh.
Now, wait. Exactly. And I want to ask you, Raph, if you're like the Chiefs or the 49ers, why would you not sign this guy for a second-round pick?
Obviously it depends on what they think of Bryce Huff. A lot of people might see him as just a one-trick pony. It's a nice trick though. He's a super fast edge rusher. It's a risky bet. There's no question about it. If they say we think Jermaine Johnson and Michael what's his name?
Clemens?
Clemens are gonna take a big step next year. We can afford to trade him for a second-round pick. Maybe they'll do that. But I'd hate to lose him.
I do. And Ray, we spoke about it because I think the 49ers are a perfect fit. And the problem is that if one of those teams pick him up, and actually he's a good fit for the Chiefs, it turns out to be almost like a third-round pick.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
right.
The other thing I think is ironic about it is we've been dying for edge rushers and guys who can get pressure on the quarterback. And one of the few guys we have on the team that's actually done it is the one we're willing to put a tender on that's probably going to be met by one of these teams.
That's what I think. Now, I don't know how it works. I don't know if they could put a higher tender on. I know they won't do a 1 because it's too expensive, but I don't know if they could do like a tender like for a 2 and a 3 or something like that.
I don't know about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you say it's too much. What does a first do? What is?
I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are. I remember, I think I told you, remember with the Jets, they did it for Lavertius Coles for a 1, and Washington picked them up, and a reporter said that they should have done it for a 1 and a 3. Now, I don't know. That's going back a long ways.
Yeah.
Who was the dude that the Jets got from Buffalo? He was an edge rusher from Penn State.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know who
Aaron Maven, yeah. Who kind of was the same kind of player. He was a one-trick guy. I think Huff is better, though, actually.
Huff is better.
Yeah, I think Huff has possibilities of being able to set the edge a bit. Maven was just light as a feather. I remember he started out really well, and then he just disappeared.
He faded.
And we brought him back the next year, and he didn't have nearly
He was a first-round pick of Buffalo.
Yeah, a high first, like a top 15, yeah.
Yeah, which was interesting. All right. This player was drafted by the Jets, so he's as a free agent, he signed the biggest contract for a Jet draftee. Who is the player?
Jesus, I forgot about the question.
With someone else or with the Jets he signed a contract?
I can't tell you. That's the question.
The biggest, Jesus Christ.
You're gonna shoot yourself if you don't get it.
Jamal Adams.
No. You ready? Geno Smith.
Oh, just now.
So there you go. See that? That's a good question. All right. Anything else, guys, before we shut this down? The Aaron Rodgers hour. All right.
We're waiting for that text from me, Marty. We got him.
Ralph, you know what's funny about that? I don't know if you remember after that, one time I had called you and I said, Ralph, and I was silent, and you said, "Oh no, don't tell me they got Tebow." That was another one. I go, yeah, they got him.
Remember Tannenbaum? He went all the way down to Mississippi to beg Favre. It was ridiculous.
You know, talking about Tannenbaum, he's on ESPN radio all the time. But I wish somebody would ask him, why did you extend Mark Sanchez that 1 year? It set the franchise back like 2 or 3 years. I'll never forget that.
Well,
was Favre retired when the Jets got him, or did he just left the Packers at that point?
When they got Sanchez?
No, when the Jets signed Favre, had he already been out of football for a year or not?
No.
We gave up draft picks, didn't we?
They gave up draft picks, and there was like a poison pill if the Jets traded him to an NFC team.
Yeah, there was like 3 number 1s if we traded him to like Minnesota
or something.
Which they knew he wanted to go to.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. Hopefully, the next time we come on, the Jets will have a quarterback, whoever it is. For Ray Clifford, Ralph Schrager, and Marty Schupak for Jets Rewind. Until next time.